Joining us now, House of Delegates member from Virginia Beach, Republican, also a candidate for Congress in the 2nd District, also NCAA tournament bracketologist extraordinaire, former Navy SEAL Scott Taylor. Let's first go to the General Assembly. Republicans, in my mind, had a pretty successful 2016. Not a lot of fireworks other than the Supreme Court judge issue. What did you make of it?
I think we had a great session. There wasn't the Medicaid expansion, of course, was a non-starter. Once again, the governor, of course, tried to put that into his budget, but we reworked that, took everything out. We, of course, had that reciprocity deal that actually gives us more reciprocity with more states than we had in the beginning. So we're very proud and happy about that. Personally, I got some great bills through, and getting the National Guard the ability to have carry permit. That's a huge win. So I think all in all, we had a great General Assembly 2016 session for the Republicans.
I would say that. I mean, I thought that you guys had a fabulous session as well, and you passed a very clean budget, I thought. I don't expect Governor McAuliffe to give a lot of vetoes or amendments to that as he did in 2015. And again, other than the issue over Judge Roush, there was not a lot of fireworks. I mean, there was a couple things that the governor vetoed that I didn't like. I thought the deal he tried to make with, Saslaw and some others on the coal tax credit, I just thought that was just ill-advised. Look, either you're going to be the jobs governor or you're not. And if you're going to be the jobs governor and you want to say that, and we've applauded the governor for going around the United States and the globe and trying to bring good jobs to Virginia. But then when you hold the coal tax credit hostage, which basically has to do with 1,000 jobs in the state, I just thought that was a bad idea.
Yeah, I agree, John. I think it was pretty disgusting. I mean, those guys are hurting out there. There's been a war on coal, as you know. There's been crushing EPA regulations, overreaching by an unelected body up there. And those guys they're really hurting, and to sort of to try to make some kind of deal on the backs of the livelihoods of those folks that are out there, it's just disgusting in my opinion.
Okay, Scott, I want to get to your congressional race. Scott Taylor running for Congress, 2nd District. This is for the seat of Scott Ridgel, who is retiring. There are 3 candidates. Current District 4 Congressman Randy Forbes is running in the 2nd District. House of Delegates member from Virginia Beach, Republican Scott Taylor, who is with us now, and Republican Pat Cardwell, who was with us earlier today. I want to get right to some of the key issues going on right now. 1 Marine dead at the hands of ISIS in Iraq. Obama sending additional troops in there. At the end of the day, we've got to have an AUMF, and we have to figure this out. You're a former Navy SEAL. Do we send troops or not?
Well, let me first say that I believe, and you've had folks on your show, Republicans and Democrats, say that Congress has to get involved. We have to take a political position to say whether we're the representatives of the people, and obviously if I'm elected, I will be there too. And Congress has to get involved to authorize war, basically.
Right.
We're the representatives of the people. So if the nation via the representatives wants to send people in, then we should. I do think that we should have some troops there. I don't think we should get in a quagmire. I don't believe in the nation building. I don't believe in the occupation, if you will. But if we want to, there's a couple different things we have to do to defeat the Islamic State and a growing threat, an exponential threat, if you will. We have to stabilize the region. It's been obviously destabilized. We have a vested interest to be a part of that. It's got to be within partnerships. And quite frankly, John, let me say foreign policy and national security, it's like a chess game. With your listeners out there, there are over 200,000 moves in the first move of chess. By the second move, there are 120 million variables. That's like foreign policy. So as soon as we make a move or say something, the president says something or sends troops in or does anything, the game board changes. Everybody reacts. So what we have to do now, as opposed to 5 years ago in the Syrian war, for example, is completely different. Obviously Russia's completely involved. I do believe that we should be sending folks there. I do not believe that we should have an overwhelming force and nation building and training. Some of the partners there, I've trained militaries around the world. I understand the limitations of that, but I think most importantly, Congress has to get involved. They have to take a position. That's what we pay them to do. That's why we send them there. So I believe that Congress must get involved to make the decision to authorize this or not.
Well, we have to do something over there. There's no question. And when we're getting Marines dying, we've got to make a move. We have to do something. I don't think the position we have right now is tenable.
For my Christmas vacation, I went over to the Syrian border,
right?
To talk to the refugees, and I was in Jordan. And when you look at Jordan, and this isn't a classified thing, the Virginia National Guard is actually sending troops over to Jordan to help them because they're at risk because their budget with the refugees. And, I mean, Amman's 45 minutes from Jerusalem. And where I was sitting on the Syrian border when I saw the Jordanian checkpoint, and I saw ISIS about 2,000 meters away. So our allies are at risk over there as well, too. And whether we like it or not, we have a vested interest in the Middle East.
We have to do something, no question. I've asked this question to everybody, so I'm going to give you an opportunity. I've asked the same thing. Putin pulls out of Syria. He feels his mission now is done to a certain extent in being able to stabilize the Assad regime. Are you in favor of going forward with some kind of a deal with Syria? Would you be okay with Assad staying in power? Or are you on the side of he has to get out, that is non-negotiable?
If you'd asked me this question 4 years ago, my answer would have been different. And as I just explained earlier, the chess game changes consistently. And I think now Putin has successfully, unfortunately, with the power vacuum, quite frankly, that we left there, was able to get in there. He was able to stabilize the Assad regime. He's got an air base there now, which he's wanted for a long time, which Russia's wanted for decades. He's got a naval base there. I think that now Assad either staying in power or something like that is actually on the table. And I think if you talk to the Israelis, which I talked to some of those when I was over there as well too, they know who Assad is. He's horrible, of course, but they at least know who he is. And we don't believe there's a moderate force that you kept hearing about that's left there. In fact, I think the Russians sort of took out a lot of them. They cannibalized each other over the last 4 years.
Right.
So do I think that him staying in power is on the table now? I do think it is, and that's extremely unfortunate. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't have been like that. And the question, if you had asked 4 years ago, would have been a different answer.
All right. I think I understand that. So you would be fine with him staying in power now based on the fact that the circumstances have changed dramatically.
I'm not fine with it. I'm not happy with it. But I think it has to be on the table potentially. If he can go in a way, then there's a transition that brings some stabilization to the region, then okay. But I'm not sure that that's the answer at this moment because of what has taken place over the last 4 years.
Scott, your chief adversary in this race, current 4th District Congressman Randy Forbes, is saying that he's got the seniority that the region needs in order to maintain the military spending that we have in Hampton Roads, in order to ensure that the aircraft carriers stay in our region and not go to Jacksonville. And he says giving up his seniority could ultimately cost the region hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in economic activity. Tell our audience why you think he's wrong.
Well, actually, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think it's wrong. I think it's arrogant. I think it's disrespectful that he's actually running in the 2nd District where he does not live, where he can't vote for himself, where if he did vote for himself, it would be a felony. I think that to say that there's no people in the 2nd District that can step up and do a great job for the residents here is ridiculous. I think if he was irreplaceable, which is what he's saying, which I don't believe anyone's irreplaceable, then he should be making that case to you and the folks of the 4th District and the new folks saying why that's the case. I think record speaks volumes. Look at what you've paid me in terms of taxpayer dollars and what you paid him, $3 million in salary for him, and what bills he's passed. He renamed the post office in Petersburg, and that's it. Look at the bills that I passed and the few years I've been in the General Assembly to help veterans and the economy and actually diversify the economy. It's important to say that seniority, of course, is important, but he tried to be the chairman a couple of years ago and was passed over. And there's no guarantee that he will be the next chairman, which won't take place for another 5 years.
Right.
Because of the way that the seniority thing works, the chairman's there. I think it's important to say that Florida, if they were to even get a nuclear carrier, they'd have to spend, like, I think the number, don't hold me to it, is like $500 million to be able to make their port capable for that. So that doom and gloom scenario, I think, is wrong to say those things. You've heard politicians, even on your show, for the last 20 years talk about diversifying the economy. I've actually passed law to diversify the economy, to help antiquated laws form to allow new industries to form completely. So that's what I would do in Washington too. I think that the doom and gloom scenario is bogus. I think if he was irreplaceable like he says he is, then he can make that case to the 4th district folks where he actually lives. I think that they've miscalculated. I think that the people in this district, I've heard many of them all over the district overtly, unasked, tell me that they think it's wrong. And I think that we're going to win June 14th.
Let's get to Scott Ridgel. I'm sideways with him now. I thought Ridgel saying that he would not back Donald Trump if he's a Republican nominee, who was the front runner right now, that he would go to a third-party alternative. I thought that was affrontive because the letter that he sent out, if you were a Trump backer like me, I thought it was highly insulting. Basically what it said is, John, if you're backing Trump, you're basically too stupid to have a job. How do you stand on this?
John, I think it's wrong. I mean, I respect Scott Ridgel. I really do. I think that he's wrong on this. I think he's wrong on the Randy thing. I think that it's not the will of the people. I don't know who these guys are talking to. Trump won the 2nd district.
Big.
He got over 50% of the vote on the Eastern Shore.
He won big.
I mean, I think Mitt Romney's wrong. I don't understand it. I mean, you're basically like you said, all these Trump supporters, you're undermining their will, and let the elections go as they are, and see what happens. Mitt Romney got on there and he was talking about he was bashing Trump for his business things, right? Well, Trump's an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs fail. They fail, they fail, they succeed. And if they succeed, then they hire a Mitt Romney to manage them or invest in their company. That's what America's built on,
right? Is
entrepreneurs who have failed and then got up and dust their knees off and went forward and then succeeded. I just think that that it's wrong. And I think that they're undermining the will of the people. And I don't understand it, but I don't agree with it.
You seem to feel there's a culture in Washington where they know much better than we do, and they want to continue to tell us what to do. And when we rise up, they get mad because they just think they know best. Even in my own race, when you have this segment, an elite segment that's saying, here's a guy who doesn't live here. He needs to come over here because he's irreplaceable. It's like he's one congressman of 435. Of course, he has some seniority, but that's great. Well, help him get elected where he lives. You know what I mean? I don't get it. I mean, I'm telling you, they're certainly not talking to plumbers and mechanics and small business owners. If they were, they would understand that they're out of sync. Well, Washington elites are definitely out of sync with work in America. There is no question. John, I've been saying it for a long time. They really don't understand it.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, look, there's nothing even in my own race, there's nothing in my DNA that says it's okay for you to leave your people behind to save your own butt. And it baffles me. If you and if I'm fighting for you because you elevated me to go speak for you, to fight for you, and we're in the middle of a fight, I'm going to stand shoulder to shoulder with you until the end and fight. Period. Like I don't get it. I think they're wrong here locally. I think they're wrong nationally to do that.
I think they are also. Now, I've got a couple more minutes. What is going on in the 2nd District? We've got another three-way chairman's battle. What's the deal here?
I don't know. They're battling it out, I guess. You got Curtis, you got Gary Byler, and you have Dennis Free. I think that I personally think Dennis Free is going to pull it out. I don't know. Obviously, Curtis and Gary were friends. They're now running against each other. I don't know what the deal is with that. I think that Dennis is probably I think that he'll probably prevail because they're probably splitting their vote. But I don't think it's going to be ugly like it was the last time. I don't believe so anyway, and I hope it's not.
Well, I hope it isn't either, because these internal battles that the Republicans keep having, I think if they're honest, they're upfront, and they're clean, they're fine. Somebody wins, we all get together at the end. But when they get ugly and there's personal feelings are hurt, it's tough then for people to get together and work together, and that's what Republicans are going to have to do. And Democrats seem, Scott, to just do a much better job at that. They have their fights. The day it's over, they shake hands and everything is fine. Republicans don't seem to be able to do that in too many instances. If you just look at what's going on right now with Trump and all these people saying they're going to vote for a third-party candidate, I just
John,
think it's unbelievable.
There's, whether it's nationally, and I think that national vibe sort of comes in locally. When you look at, we've had Republican-controlled Congress now for years. We sent folks up there to do things, and obviously I think everybody knows in their souls that Washington is broken and that we need a fresh start. But we sent Republican leaders up there to do things they haven't. People are not satisfied with that, and I think that causes problems even in the local level because people are frustrated, and rightfully so.
Absolutely. Scott, what's your website?
My website is scotttaylor.us. scotttaylor.us. June 14th is our vote, and we ask for everybody to come out and support us.
More info, go to scotttaylor.us.